Okay, great. So AppLovin, what is it? Besides an awesome name, mobile marketing platform, full transparency across all the exchanges. We work directly with developers, and we work on behalf of brands, agencies, and gaming, non-gaming, and providing full transparency on UA ROI. So we put together a panel over here. I wanted to ask the guys to introduce themselves. We have Noam, James, and Rustam from 3 different game companies, which I thought represented a good cross-panel of the game space, the game industry today, mobile, iOS, and Android. And I wanted to hear from these guys. I want them to introduce themselves and then talk a little bit about their company, and then we'll get into it a little bit.
Hi, my name is Noam. I'm in charge of user acquisition and monetization at Media. We are a boutique publisher. Most familiar with the Trial Extreme series, which have a few months ago passed the 100 million downloads. That's it.
Hey, I'm James from GameSys. I look after UA and more recently monetization through in-app advertising for our social casino products. GameSys is historically an online, large, real money company based out of London, but we've got a social casino arm now, with our main products being Jackpot Joy Slots and Bingo Lane.
Hey, my name is Rustam. I'm with ZMAD. I'm a producer of the company. I'm more on the production side, but recently been doing a lot thinking on monetization and user acquisition. We do, like probably many of you, a lot of casual games, but slowly moving to mid-core and hardcore. One of our, I guess, more successful apps is Magic Jigsaw Puzzles. It's somewhere in, I don't know, 80 grossing ranks on iPad.
So I thought this panel would represent a good cross section. We have Media, which I think the flagship series is Trial Extreme. It's casual, but certainly skews a little bit towards a mid-core type audience, or mid-core type audience. We have James from GameSys, which is one of the largest real money gambling companies in the world, and has transitioned over to the social casino space as well, slots and bingo, and they've been really successful over there, and I thought it'd be interesting to hear from them, from James as well, in terms of how they've done that. And then we have ZMAD, which I'm happy that Rustam pronounced that properly, because I was pronouncing it ZMAD before. So yeah, that's good. Yeah, that's good. So ZMAD is fine. We could just change the I to an E, and then we're good to go. And then and they've been really successful with the Jigsaw series, as well as some Match 3 as well. So I think, given the success and the interest within the casual, the purely casual genre, Rustam can shed some light over there. And so I think I wanted to start off over here. Ask the guys. I sort of prepped them a little bit, but hopefully not too many curveball questions over here. I think they were a little bit concerned, in front of an audience. But maybe you guys can just sort of tell me, what you think is sort of like the title out there that personifies success, as a games business from a design and monetization perspective. Which is your ultimate title and your ultimate company, other than yours? Tell me what you put over there in no particular order, whichever one of you want to go first.
Yeah, I'll go. I chose someone who's in my space, social casino space, an app called My Vegas Slots by Play Studios. So they entered the space a few years ago, and obviously slot space, I know to a lot of you might seem like every app is the same and very similar, but they did something quite clever. They partnered with MGM and offered their users real-world rewards through MGM resorts in exchange for experience points. So it was immediately just something that completely stood out from the crowd, and they've had great success through that, and they're now one of the top 5 probably slots apps out there. So I'll go for those guys.
Let me keep this so I can talk.
I'm definitely choosing Boom Beach. Of course, it is called, that was the game of the year, 2014. The most interesting feature in this game is the social. I think that none other company had a game that is has such beautiful social features. It's not just PvP. There isn't any there is PvP, but it's not the main social point. They're giving the user an option to team up, to coordinate and attack together, and co-op together against an enemy base. And that forced the user to talk, to actually get to know each other. And if I'm doing a good job, all my teammates are going to congratulate me and tell me how cool I am. And if I'm doing a bad job, I will get my ass kicked in school the next day. So that's putting a lot of pressure for me to buy everything that I have in order to make sure that I'm as good as my teammates.
For me, just looking at the companies, like for me, I would mention probably Wooga, just because they tend to have a great balance between sort of delivering a great product and as well as monetizing. I think at the core, again.
What title though?
Well, Jelly Splash, love that game. I instantly sort of dove in and I saw the progression and how they made the game better and better and better with each little release and the way they started sort of selling certain things, and it never felt forced. So they, as a whole, as the company, like I just really love them.
Interesting. So I mean, you know, we have My Vegas, we had Boom Beach, and then Jelly Splash. I think those were all all titles that were driven certainly by features, but also by extensive UA campaigns as well. Do you guys feel that? I mean, you didn't mention like Subway Surfer or Crossy Road, the guys who spoke here earlier today in this room. So. Do you feel that, I mean, is it just sort of where you guys sit in the space? Are these games that you enjoy playing? Or like, do you feel that there's room for, indie devs to come out there without these huge UA budgets and without smartly spending money on UA and just going out there organically and building like a really strong business?
Well, for me, I think the content's definitely sort of king. I mean, we sort of all here know that without UA, it's incredibly difficult, and a lot of money that goes into it is not going to get returned because the game is not there, monetization is not there, but probably most importantly, retention is not there. And a lot of the titles I think that we mentioned definitely have that sort of built in. And I'll add one more sort of company or game that has very interesting sort of advertising monetization techniques, which is, I think it's called Retry by Rovio. I don't know if you guys played it, but it's really great the way they integrate advertising into the game that doesn't feel like advertising, essentially. And Rovio in general does a great job of showing you ads without making it stand out or making users sort of pull users away from the game.
Yeah, on that, I think you've got to be thinking about your monetization strategy before you release the game. I know some people who I hear don't, and that includes if you're going to do in-game advertising, you need to be thinking, why should you build the game? Where am I going to put these ads? Who am I going to show them to? And all those sort of things. So I think if you do it 3 to 6 months after launch, for some people that might be too late.
Subway Surfer, it's an amazing game. It's great. It's well polished. Kilo are an amazing developer that is around most companies. But it's a great game. If you have a great game, everything is easier for you. You can see Fluffy Birds. It was a very simple game, doesn't have a lot of monetization strategies behind it, and it's made $50,000 a day just for showing banners ads. So what I'm talking about Boom Beach, that they had a unique mechanism that I expect we will see a lot in 2015. I think that this is the direction this industry is going to and should go to, and they're giving something that is very they have a lot of innovation in their games.
Right. Okay, it's interesting. Sort of leads me to my next point. So I think, you know, when you talk about game development, you know, you talk about games. So this was probably, I mean, in my mind at least, and I could be wrong, and there may be more, and you guys can talk to that. But there are three different areas. So one is the actual game itself. So building out, you know, an awesome game. The other piece is, you know, what is your acquisition strategy around players, be that organic or, you know, paid UA in many different channels. And then what's your monetization strategy around in-app purchasing and around, you know, around currency and around advertising. And so I think those are sort of like the three ways that I look at it. You know, what would you guys say is sort of the most important out of the three, and why would that be? Go for it.
I'm sorry, I can't choose one and say that it's the most important.
Trick question.
Yes, I hate to give this answer, but they all have to work together. It's like you have to have a great game, and you have to have a good monetization model, so you will actually get money from the game. And if no one is playing your game because you don't have user acquisition, it's not going to help you. It's have to work together. When we're looking at user acquisition, for example, and monetization, I need to know in this specific country those users are paying the most. So I'll put all of my user acquisition efforts in that country as well. So I'm sorry, I can't say that one is more important than the other.
Apology accepted.
Thank you.
So yeah, definitely true. It sort of also breaks down further per game basis. I mean, I'm sure you guys heard this before. It really does depend. Like, we have a ton of match 3 games, and the strategy between different games changes, even though it's still a match 3 game. You do the same motions or a little different, but for some reason it really varies. Wherever you put sort of your pay points, your paywalls, where you put advertising, etc., it all kind of depends. We were never successful at looking at sort of one match 3 game and sort of duplicating that exact experience for another game, like for monetization, user, or advertising.
Well, I mean, just being a little bit more specific, and I'm not sure if you can talk to it, but when you look at, let's say, Magic Jigsaw versus some of the match 3 titles, do you monetize those titles differently? Do you look at users differently?
Yeah, so all of our games have ads and sort of in-app purchases, and advertising saves a lot of our games. Monetization is very difficult, as we all know. I had several titles that just bombed on monetization, but were able to save it, carry the game, update the game through advertising. Like, you guys could sort of look in the App Store. We have this game called Lil Quest, Match 3. And you'll see, if you'll see in reviews, luckily it's like 4.5 stars, but a lot of sort of 1- and 2-star reviews talk about, we hate the ads are the worst, get rid of ads, it's too expensive, like, it's ugly, what are you doing? But the fact is, it really pays the bills. I was very hesitant when I came into the industry to show ads, but it sort of pays the bills.
Those weren't AppLovin ads, were they?
No, AppLovin ads are the best.
Okay. That's good.
But no, in general, I'm just, we're very aggressive with that. So if the game is failing, ad revenue could definitely help you sort of save that.
Yeah, I'll second that. I mean, in our space, social casino space, it's none of the top providers initially did any in-game advertising, and it took me probably 6 months, 12 months to convince our product team to implement ads. It was a really tough battle, but since the results we've seen have been fantastic, and if you can segment your user base and only choose to show ads to certain people, then I think it's a revenue stream that is difficult to ignore for us anyway.
Okay.
To add one thing about, if we're talking about ads, I just want to add, a lot of developers don't like to place ads in their game. They're creating a game, it's something that they see as art, which is by the way, and ads are, it's taking some out of the game. But if you are not Clash of Clans or Dragon and Puzzles or have a crazy ARPU, I don't see any excuse for anyone not to use ads inside the games.
PSA announcement today. Okay. I wanted to get into a little bit deeper into each of those areas. So we spoke about the game design, UA, monetization. We'll go into each of those three. But and I wanted to start with game design since clearly the game has to be amazing and has to be interesting. And you guys are in different areas as well. And so I think, like, for instance, when you talk about social casino and you think about like slots and bingo, there are a lot of slots and bingo guys out there. How do you build a game that's actually interesting? That's James, we'll start with you.
Yeah, it's tough, right? Because if I take the app that I chose as my awesome title, My Vegas Slots, they did something fresh and new, a really nice twist on the slots genre, and they smashed it and they're doing really well. But on the other side, you don't necessarily need to reinvent the wheel. And in one of our other titles that we have, we did something similar. We gave it the traditional title in that genre, I won't say it, but a new feel, something a bit different to what was already out there. And to be honest, that game isn't as big as we'd hoped, and the simple reason is the audience for that particular genre of game, that they didn't want anything new. They wanted what they knew, what they were used to already, and what they see offline. So I think there's a real balance to be had there, and I think it does depend genre by genre, definitely.
Okay, Noam, you guys, so you have the Trial Extreme series, which is pretty innovative and different. You guys also publish a lot of titles. What is that actual game creation process? How do you go from an idea to either having your own studio, working with a third-party developer? What is that process to actually go ahead and build that game that's a quality, awesome experience?
First of all, it's a little bit easier for us because we have the experience of all those titles. We know the user. We already done a lot of mistakes that we can learn from. Right. And we also have our dedicated users that we are sending them beta versions and receiving hundreds of feedbacks. So all in just know your users.
Do you use any tools, any specific tools around like beta testing or cohort testing?
Definitely.
Right.
We just have a lot of database about our users. We have a great relationship with the core users. And changing a genre to launch another game that are approaching a different kind of user, yes, it's very challenging. It's taking much longer time because you will need to do a few beta testings on that. Okay. Yes.
Cool.
We haven't found the silver bullet for match 3 games, but I can tell you what helps. So definitely, and these things you guys probably sort of heard before already, but game size matters a great deal. Definitely cannot be a big game. Definitely can't be over 100 megs. Right, like server-based content, you can't just keep uploading, you can't just keep versioning. You got to make sure that your players are able to receive updates, balance updates, content updates through a server. You're talking about tools like definitely game analytics. You have to sort of know your users, know where their drop-off points is, etc.
Can you disclose what you use for game analytics?
We sort of in the process of figuring out a bunch, and this is true for everything. Like we're definitely in constant R&D mode. It's true for user acquisition, monetization, for every aspect of our company. We definitely try. For analytics, right now we're looking at Unity, and that's another point. Cross-platform is also sort of, we found, key for us, ability to sort of put your games on different platforms, because different games will do better on different platforms. Again, if you're not Candy Crush kind of company. Game analytics, right. So we have Unity analytics, game analytics, app site, and we also have our own proprietary tool that we use. And we're sort of figuring out how we're going to move forward. Oh, and Apps Flyer as well.
Cool. So let's shift over to UA now. I think all you guys are pretty savvy about how you acquire users. You guys use different platforms. Some of you do things differently than others. I'd love to hear your major providers that you go to on the UA side, as well as the strategies that you use to acquire users profitably and how you actually do that.
Sure. So I'm not the expert on UA, sadly, sorry. But yeah, again, I'll tell you guys sort of how we approach the issue. Like I said, so we do a lot of R&D. We have a small marketing team that on a daily basis looks at things like attrition, LTV, all your basic KPIs. And we test and test and test and test. Like I said before, like even with our match 3 games, one channel that we use might not work for another game. So it's just a daily grind to find sort of the lowest CPI and get a game that sort of has an LTV that may be a little higher than that CPI. And our top partners, I would say, Facebook, Chartboost, App11, and I don't know, we have a few more that we use a lot. Vongo, AdColony, and then we have like, I don't know, like 50 others that we sort of try daily and see how they perform. So it's constant getting a little bit here, a little bit here, trying to get more and more sort of users from different channels.
Yeah, for us, just in terms of partners, a lot of the same ones that you said there, I add to that for us on iOS, Tapjoy as well. But yeah, there's a massive like long tail of smaller networks that are out there as well that I'm sure can perform just as well. Something that's interesting for us is, I don't know if you guys have seen it, is that we see better, well obviously Facebook everyone knows, gives you good quality users, everyone knows that, but we see probably better quality users from video networks than we do banner and interstitial ads. I don't know if that's just in our space or not, so that's definitely worth investigating. In terms of overall strategy, I think you need to have really distinct targets split by geo, platform, device, because you're going to see different performance on all those things. And for us, I think it's typical of the social casino space, CPIs are so high, especially when you're on the paid platforms, that you need to look at your organic uplift that you're getting from good App Store optimization, from ranking highly, and include that in your ROI analysis, definitely.
So that's much vary between the games, of course. When we are soft launching a game, we're not only looking at the monetization and the user experience, we're also looking at the user acquisition. How the game is converting, which countries convert better than other countries. If the game is a game with a very high ARPU, which allow me to buy a quality user for a very high amount, or maybe it's a very relatively low ARPU, but it's converting very well, so I will just buy a lot of traffic for very cheap prices in order to push myself in the app stores, in the ranks. So our key partner right now is Facebook, which is getting the lion's share of the traffic, but we're using, of course, I think half a dozen of partners.
Cool. I mean, are there any advantages to Facebook specifically? So obviously there's a ton of data over there. They allow pretty granular targeting. What are sort of the keys to making Facebook work?
There's two advantages for Facebook. First of all, the targeting. I can really pinpoint. I can target a specific user. And the other advantage that they don't have a minimum. They don't have a minimum CPC, CPM, CPI. So if your game is converting very well, for example, in a lot of companies that have a minimum cap for like say 6 cent CPC, it makes a lot of sense for me to buy traffic for the US, for UK, for tier 1 countries. But it's not make a lot of sense to buy traffic in Brazil or let's say or China for the same price that I'm buying in the US. So Facebook does not give you that limit. It just say you can try if your content is converting very well for installs. Why not?
Yeah, I'd say ideally to make Facebook work, you can get someone in-house who is a Facebook expert. I mean, if that's tough to get that resource, I'd just try and learn yourself, because I think for all games it's such an important channel. And I think also partnering with the right Facebook PMD is also critical, because I know they're a lot out there and it's probably quite hard to find one that's perfect for you, but yeah, that's definitely important as well.
Yeah, what these guys said, for sure. But I do have a question. Can I ask a question, Mark?
Sure.
Anyone here use Twitter for their UA? Is that successful?
Very early days for us.
I think that was like 2 people that raised their hand, by the way, out of like 100.
Very early days for us on Twitter, but it's been, I'd say, underwhelming so far.
I agree. Yeah, we sort of tried it, and it sort of promises a lot, just like Facebook, but we tried it, and yeah, performance is not there. I don't know.
Was that the targeting, or is it something else? Was it the volume?
Yeah, so the volume versus CPI. So low CPI, 5 people coming to the game, or not low CPI, just I would say market CPI, and obviously raise CPI. The volume is there, but it's not. The balance is not there.
Yeah, I'd say for games on Twitter, I think it's going to be tough. I think if you look at the gambling space again, casino doesn't really make sense. But I think for sportsbook, for instance, where it's just during, say, soccer match, where everything's happening instantly and in real time, then I think Twitter makes complete sense for them. And I know the likes of Paddy Power, etc., have done a really good job there. So I don't think it's a no-no for everyone.
So it probably just depends on the title and the genre.
Yeah.
That makes sense. Okay, so on to the third sort of aspect that we were talking about, which was the monetization. I know in our business at Apple 11, there's been a tremendous shift towards video, reward video and regular video has just been absolutely amazing for us. I was sitting in this room, like I mentioned before. Crossy Road was talking about monetization and how they actually don't have banners, they don't have interstitials. All they do is reward video because it fits tightly into the game experience without affecting user experience at all. What are you guys seeing, both from an ad format perspective, but also from an in-app purchasing perspective, which in many cases makes up 50% or more of the revenue of any title? What are you guys seeing on both sides of the fence, and how are you guys doing over there? What type of tools are you using as well in terms of monetization, in-app purchasing and advertising?
Okay, I'll talk about advertising first of all. So we have in our games video reward and also interstitials as well. Like you say, obviously we love video reward. Our users love it. They're getting something for watching the ad. It's a good experience for them. Often it will increase their session length, and when we've tracked the users who are engaging with it, we can see that those session lengths are longer than people who don't watch videos. In addition, we've looked at it as well and seen that it has no negative effect on our conversion to purchasing player, which we were worried about before we integrated it. So it's only been a good thing for us. That said, we do have interstitials as well. They, I think, can work just alongside video reward. You can put them in parts of your game where there are natural pauses. And if you segment your user base right, and we only show them to people that we're not that concerned about, who we don't think we're going to make any money off, then it's just another great way to make money off people. And I think if someone's been playing your game, like in our case, for 12 months, 18 months, never giving you a dime, then show them some interstitial ads, because you're never going to make any money of them otherwise. And to be quite frank, we're not too concerned if we're affecting their user experience if they're never making a purchase with us.
And how about the other side of the fence, the in-app purchasing? What are you guys doing over there in terms of accelerating that piece of the business, the revenue over there?
Yeah, so we've built a tool internally that allows us to segment our user base based on level, days since install, days since last session, etc. And then we can just show different offers based on your state. So if you've never made a purchase before, you're going to see a better offer than someone who has made a purchase. If you haven't made a purchase for a week, again, you're going to see better offers. So yeah, every user, well not every user, but there's several, probably tens of segments that we have, and every user will be seeing a different offer. So.
Is that do you think that's common across most large game companies at the level of segmentation around in-app purchasing?
I think so. Yeah, I imagine so. Yeah, and also in the casino space as well. That there's a VIP type tiers that more and more players, ourselves included, are implementing as well. That adds builds into that as well. So.
Cool.
About the rewarded videos, it's a very tricky thing because yes, it's making money definitely, but most of the games today, mid-core and out-core games, have the model of wait or pay. You're out of coins, you're out of life, you're out of something, and then you need to wait 2 hours, 4 hours, and a lot of the in-app purchases are coming at that point. The user don't want to wait 4 hours, so I can show me a video which will give me a cent or two. Or I can push him to buy an in-app purchase. So right now we're actually testing that on the new game, when to show the user the option. It's something that we should not think lightly on. It's a great source of revenue, but might have a very bad effect on the inner purchase. In one of our games, Age of Wind, it is a game with very high ARPU, very high ARPU pool. We didn't want to risk anything there. So it's a free, it's an open world game. You can take your pirate ship and just sail the seas. And between time to time, you will see another ship that is like floating movie theater. In there, you can see a video. So that's a lot of revenues, of course, but the user does not choose when he can see the video. So that had zero effect on the inner purchase.
Yeah, definitely. There's sort of, I think, from first advertising, we sort of underappreciated, I think. I think there's a lot of creativity that can go into displaying advertising in a nice way where it doesn't affect retention or in-app purchases. Like you guys said, video is great, and interstitials, very high eCPMs. And but as far as in-apps, again, I'm sure you guys heard this before, but things like what you guys talked about, segmentation, definitely very important. Deals, offers, and not being afraid to be a little sort of aggressive. Like, I tend to think of it like your point about building into monetization straight from the get-go. I 100% agree, but we tend to approach it we build it in. We know when we're going to start pushing, but we first focus on retention, getting the players in there. And once we feel comfortable enough that we have a solid user base, then we sort of open up the channels to all these promo material that giving opportunity to people to make a purchase. I see this in a lot of games, and some of our games are also guilty of that, where the balance is not there and the content is not built up enough for people to sort of, without having an ability to spend, a lot of money or whatever the amount for you is. But generally, like, if you can get through your game with making $10 purchase, maybe that's not enough. Maybe it is, depends. But having those kind of KPIs when like, all right, to get through the game, it's going to take X amount of time, approximately, and it's hopefully a player will sort of spend this much money where it could sort of make business sense.
Cool. Hey, I want to wrap up over here with a question. So, if you guys were gonna, just go out there on your own as an indie dev, limited or really zero resources, on your own on the beach somewhere, building out a game, and you want to go out there and be successful, is that possible in today's day and age, 2015, 2016? What are the opportunities to do so if it is, and what would you specifically go out there and build?
I would definitely not do match 3 games. Yeah, no, I think my approach would definitely be different. I would just make games that I really enjoy. And I'm very rich, right? Like, while building a game, I have to make a living off making games.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, then I'd make all sorts of.
Well, where can the indie dev be successful today?
To be honest, I don't know. All I know is that if there is a great game, right, like Monument Valley, for example, for sure, it's going to get sort of recognized, and people are going to come in and pay immediately and sort of get the game and have a great experience. But outside of that, I'm not sure. I think I've been stuck in the free-to-play too long. But like anytime somebody tells me they're making a paid game, I just think like, well, I hope they're making money elsewhere. It seems really tough.
Depressing. Okay, next.
Yeah, sorry.
I definitely think it is possible. And you look at the Crossy Road, you were here before. I mean, they 4 or 5 people out of Melbourne, I think. But yeah, it's tough. I mean, from a UA perspective, obviously you're not going to have big budgets. So I think you just need to look for every cheap win that you can, and things such as App Store optimization, so your keywords, your video screenshots, app description, all that sort of stuff really does make a difference and help. So and it doesn't really cost much. So that's definitely something you should be focusing on from a UA perspective. And then, like I say earlier, just don't leave it too late before you start thinking about how to best monetize your game.
But is there a genre, like a certain category that you would go into that you think is more accessible to an indie dev today?
Not casino. I'd say that. Yeah, I don't know, to be honest. No.
ROSNER said adventure games. Okay, cool.
It's definitely possible. We see it all the time. It's extremely difficult, and it's getting more and more difficult as the time goes. But an indie developer, if they have a great idea for a game, it doesn't need to do it alone. We have a lot of publishing companies. You need someone that knows how to do user acquisition, who knows how to do monetization, who done mistakes already that he is going to do, and he know how to avoid them. You need to take the game and to be connected enough to put it on Apple and Google table in order to review for a feature. So my advice is definitely don't do it alone. You don't need to do it alone. If you have a great game, you won't find any problem finding a good publisher that is willing to take your name under his you take your game under his name. If there is a category today that will be easier, no.
It's competitive.
The market is definitely flooded. With so many games, we have like thousands of games going every day. I don't think that there will be any place that it will be easier. Just make the best game ever.
Fair enough. I think that's great advice. So I wanted to thank you guys for coming out over here. I think we can spend a couple of minutes as well on Q&A if anybody does have any questions. If not, great. But any questions from the audience? We're good? Okay, excellent. Thank you. Thank you for coming, everybody.